Now you know how to do a usability evaluation study. You can also do usability experiments. So while the purpose of the usability evaluation was to find out whether there are any usability problems in the system that you have developed or not, and to figure out whether your prototype has met user experience goals. A usability experiment, on the other hand, has a different goal. Its goal is to test a hypothesis and to figure out whether a relationship exists between two or more variables. Okay, so what exactly do I mean by that? So let's suppose that you have developed two different prototypes for a project, and you have a hypothesis. You're not really sure, but you want to find out whether users will make few errors with the side navigation or the bottom navigation. Okay, so you come up with a hypothesis. You have a feeling that the side navigation is easier, is more efficient. It helps the user make fewer errors, whereas the bottom navigation is actually makes the user make more errors. Okay, so this is a hypothesis that you come up with because of maybe some observations that you made doing a usability testing, a usability study, and now you want to test this hypothesis. Okay, so in order to test this hypothesis, you will have to design an experiment. Okay, and now in this experiment, what you're going to do is you are going to give your users two different interfaces and ask them to perform the same tasks with both interfaces. Okay, and then you're going to record some performance measures. The same performance measures that I talked about previously, you can use them here, but you'll have to decide which ones you need, and that's going to be based on your hypothesis. Okay, so there are some terms that you need to be familiar with if you are designing usability experiments. So the first term is independent variable. So independent variable is a variable that's manipulated by the researcher. So in this case, the location or the position of the navigation bar is the independent variable, because that's what the experimenter or the usability expert is able to control. Okay, the dependent variable is what is influenced by the independent variable. So in this case, again, the dependent variable is the number of errors. So the independent variable is the position of the side navigation, and dependent variable is the number of errors. Okay, so you're trying to, in this test, in your experiment, you're trying to figure out whether there is any relationship between the position of the navigation bar and the number of errors. So typically, experimental designs can have one or two independent variables. So what I mean by that is that if you have two independent variables, they could be the position of the navigation bar and maybe the color of the navigation bar. So in that case, you will have to modify your hypothesis to users will make fewer errors with blue side navigation as compared to red bottom navigation. So the usability experiments, although the usability studies also happen under very distraction-free environment, controlled environment, but for usability experiment, you have to be even more strict when it comes to controlling the conditions of the environment. You know, sometimes usability experts go as far as controlling the temperature of the room as well. So they will say that, okay, under these conditions, under 57 degrees Celsius, or sorry, degree Fahrenheit, the user was able to perform this task. Or, you know, sometimes they'll go as far as controlling the characteristics of the users as well. So for example, all kids at the age 15 years old kids, so they can just have this, all the participants be as similar to each other as possible. So usually happens under carefully controlled conditions, and hypotheses can only be tested by quantitative measures of usability, like time lapse, total errors, or subjective ratings. So in the usability evaluation, we were also gathering the qualitative feedback from the user. Remember, we were asking the user to tell us whether they liked this interface, or whether they did what they liked about it, what they disliked about it. But in usability experiment, we do not collect that kind of qualitative information. It's only quantitative measures of usability that we are interested in capturing. And it has to be validated statistically, meaning that the number of users that you are choosing for your study has to be statistically determined. So there are different kinds of experimental designs that, but we won't go into too much detail because this is another topic for another course, perhaps. So you can have different participants. You can have the same participants match. So what I'm trying to show here is that you might have one group of users interact with first version of your website, and then ask them to fill out the system usability scale that I showed you last time. And then there might be another group. So these two groups you can control. So either group 1 and group 2 could be the same. It could be entirely different, or these two groups could be pairwise matched, meaning that the characteristics of people in this group are exactly the same as the characteristics of people in this group. So if this group has 5 people, this group also has to have 5. If all 5 of these people are, let's say, of a certain age, then these 5 people also have to be the same age as this group. Okay, so if you have these matching of these two groups, then it's called pairwise match groups. So these groups could be different, they could be same, they could be pairwise matched. Okay, so you can have, so the idea usually is that one group interact with first version, the other group interacts with the second version. They both complete the same metrics, you collect the same metrics from both of them, and then you compare the results and find the winner. That's very simplified version of how a control or an experiment or usability experiment is done.